this week's edition of the Comic Hero Show. I'm your host, Victor Nunley, and I am the Comic Hero. Now, in episode 20 of the Comic Hero Show, I talked about Batman in the Comicology 101 segment. Now, I want to ask you, if you were paying attention, how many characters took the mantle of Batman? Was it A, 1, B, 4, or C, 3? I'll reveal the answer at the end of the show, but for right now, let the ranting begin.
What you talking about, Willis?
Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the 2014 NFL Draft. I should have talked about this last week, but I kind of got a little scatterbrained, so I'm going to talk about it now. All right. Of course, the number one pick was Jadeveon Clowney to the Houston Texans, and some other picks were Blake Bortles from Central Florida to the Jaguars, and Johnny Manziel to the Cleveland Browns. Now, I want to talk about the picks for my New Orleans Saints, who they got. Okay, the first pick was the 20th overall pick, Brandon Cooks, a wide receiver from Oregon State. Their second pick, which was the 58th overall, was Stanley Jean-Baptiste, a defensive back from Nebraska. And then their third pick, which was the 126th pick overall, was Kyrie Fort, an inside linebacker from Cal. Then their fourth pick was the 167th pick overall, Vinny Sunseri, a short safety from Alabama. Oh, by the way, Mark Ingram was very thrilled about that pick because, you know, they both went to the same college. Okay, next pick that they had was the 169th pick, Ronald Powell, an outside linebacker from Florida. And then their last pick was the 202nd pick, Tavon Rooks, an outside tackle from Kansas. Now, it's obvious that they were going after more defensive players than they were offensive players. Well, you have to think about it. Rob Ryan, who is their defensive coordinator, and I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. They've drafted two secondary players out of Stanley Jean-Baptiste and Vinny Sunseri, and they've already signed Champ Bailey and Jairus Byrd. And just wait until Kenny Vaccaro comes back for injury. I'm just going to go and say it right now, and I hope I don't jinx them. That's going to be Shutdown Inc. They're going to have the probably the best shutdown the best secondary in the NFL. And I just hope I don't jinx them. And I hope they live up to my and just about everybody else's expectations. And while, I'm on the subject of defense, I want to talk about Rob Ryan. A lot of folks about a year and a half ago were saying that he would be a great head coach if it weren't for the length of his hair. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. There's a reason that his hair is long. Years ago, the classmate of one of his daughters lost her hair due to leukemia, and when he found out about it, he started growing his hair out. And when it got to a certain length, he cut it, and he still does that to this day. So for all you people that say that criticize Rob Ryan because of the length of his hair, stop it. There's a reason he does that. I've always considered him to be an honorable man, and even before I found out about that, and finding out about that is just one more reason that I consider him honorable and an honorable person, and I stand by that. Okay. Oh, by the way, and I have to say this because I'm a ULM student, but I'm very proud of Colton Browning. He didn't get drafted, but he got signed by the Dallas Cowboys. And I just hope that he makes the team. I hope he makes at least third string. Well, okay, let's face it. Colton Browning is a beast of a quarterback. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I don't want him to settle for just making the team. I don't want him to just settle for being third string or second string. Let's just hope he beats out Tony Romo. It can happen. After all, Tony Romo isn't as good as Jerry Jones keeps saying that he is. I can see, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if either next season or this season you'll be hearing Colton Browning to such and such, touchdown Cowboys. So let's hope that happens. Oh, Maroon on, Talon's out. Oh, Colton, if you're watching this, congratulations. I hope you make the team, and and hopefully someday you'll be the starting quarterback for the Cowboys. All right, next thing I want to talk about is X-Men: Days of Future Past. It comes out in theaters this Friday. I'm going to go out and see it on Saturday. Now, you're probably wondering, Vic, why aren't you going to see a midnight showing of it or going to see it on Friday? I'll never tell. Okay, all right. The last thing I want to talk about is a subject that kind of cuts two ways, and that subject is bullying. It's becoming a lot more severe and extreme than it's ever been. And it's getting to the point now where in the state of California, they're trying to pass a law for bullying to be illegal. And unfortunately, the last one got thrown out because it wasn't sufficient. My thing is, bullying should be against the law, not just in the state of California. It should be against the law everywhere. We're having way too many of our young people battle depression and take their lives because of it. No one should have to do that. Now, you're probably wondering, Vic, why are you talking about this? Because I myself have been bullied. I was bullied anywhere from second grade all the way through the first college that I attended. And to an extent, I've been bullied even now. I've been bullied for doing the show. I've been bullied for collecting comics. I've been bullied for a lot of things. I handle it a lot differently now than I did then. You know, and now if somebody bullies me now, I just don't let it bother me. But there are some people who don't handle it the same way that I do. And I understand that. So that's why I think bullying should be against the law everywhere. All right, that's all I want to rant about. This week there's new. All right, coming up next is a new DC versus Marvel segment, and this week will be Deadpool versus Deathstroke. Let's go.
Are you man enough, big and bad enough? Are you gonna let them shoot you down?
Welcome back to another segment of DC vs. Marvel. This week, it's Deathstroke vs. Deadpool. Deathstroke possesses various enhanced abilities stated to be almost superhuman. These include the strength of 10 men and heightened speed, agility, stamina, and reflexes. His enhancements granted him to lift at least 2,000 pounds. He has the capacity to use up to 90% of his brain at any one time, making him a tactical genius, adept at turning opponents' own abilities against them. This can also be attributed to his years in the military and combat with various heroes. Deathstroke also possesses a healing factor in his blood that enables him to heal from physical injury much faster than a normal person. However, it does have limitations, as he could not heal his missing eye and cannot regenerate entire limbs. This enables him to recover from what would otherwise be fatal injuries, though recovering from such injuries renders him insane and animalistic for a short period. Deathstroke is also very formidable in hand-to-hand combat. Deadpool's only power is a healing factor that makes him invulnerable. Artificially endowed by the Weapon X program after being diagnosed with cancer, this enables him to regenerate any destroyed tissue at a superhuman rate, as well as making him immune to all known diseases. An unanticipated side effect was an acceleration of the cancerous tumors, causing them to quickly spread across his entire body. Because of this, his healing factor supercharged his cancer, resulting in massive scar tissue, causing his appearance to be severely deformed. His healing factor allows him to regenerate limbs and/or reattach them. He's a superb assassin and mercenary, adept in multiple forms of martial arts, and an expert swordsman and marksman. Who would win? It would start out competitive until Deadpool notices Deathstroke's eye patch after he knocks his mask off. He later starts toying with Deathstroke by letting him cut off several of his limbs, which results in Deadpool either reattaching them or regenerating new ones. Deathstroke later tries to turn Deadpool's abilities against him, but to no avail. Already insane from the combination of recovering from his injuries and Deadpool reattaching his limbs and growing new ones, Deathstroke realizes he can't beat Deadpool and caps himself in the heart. Deadpool wins. And that concludes this week's segment of DC vs. Marvel.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's segment of DC vs. Marvel. I'll have another one next week. And also, I'll have a Comicology 101 segment next week prepared. Okay, let's get to the comics I bought this week.
Comic books I bought this week.
Up first is Hulk #1. This is the first issue of the new Hulk series that picks up where Indestructible Hulk #20 leaves off. Now, at the end of the of Indestructible Hulk #20, he gets shot in the back of the head. We don't know who it is that shoots him in the back of the head, but this picks up shortly later after some doctors end up having to do some surgery on him to save his life and to remove the bullet. But I'm thinking that, remember in Comicology 101, the one I did on the Incredible Hulk, talking about how four people are basically the Savage Hulk, the Gray Hulk, and Bruce Banner become one. I think that's about to be no more. Because first off, if you take a bullet to the back of the head like that and almost die, yeah, I don't. That's probably going to fracture him for the rest of his life. I think all that Doc Samson had done would be destroyed. All right, up next is Amazing X-Men #7, and yes, this is Spider-Man, Iceman, and Firestar. So there's about to be an actual Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends issue, if you will. And while I'm thinking about that, I'm going to let y'all into something that a lot of folks don't know about Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends. Now, in the cartoon, it was Spider-Man, Iceman, and Firestar. Really, it was supposed to be Spider-Man, Iceman, and the Human Torch. But the only reason that it wasn't was because Marvel didn't want to pay any more royalties to Jack Kirby than they'd already been paying him, because he co-created Iceman along with Stan Lee in X-Men. So that being said, they decided to create Firestar to avoid having to pay more royalties to Jack Kirby, which I think was kind of an easy way out. Sometimes I think about what Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends would have been like if they would have used the Human Torch instead of Firestar. Because Firestar was actually created for the show, but didn't appear in comics until about a few years later. As a matter of fact, Firestar didn't make her appearance in comics until, Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends premiered in 1981, which was the year I was born. But it didn't, but Firestar didn't appear in comics until 1986. Just a little tidbit I thought y'all might like to know. All right, up next is Justice League #30. This is the aftermath of Forever Evil. This takes place right after Forever Evil. And no, you're your eyes aren't deceiving you, that actually is Lex Luthor standing next to all the members of the Justice League. And and Shazam has also become a member of the League as well. Full-fledged, I think so. But I'm thinking a certain alien from another planet who has spent most of his life on Earth probably won't like that. All right, up next is Batman and Frankenstein number 31. Now, the book started out for the first few issues to be called Batman and Robin. But after the death of Robin in Batman Incorporated number 8, the book has taken on a whole bunch of different names like Batman and Nightwing, Batman and Red Robin, Batman and the Red Hood, Batman and Catwoman, Batman and Batgirl. And for a few issues, it was called Batman and Two-Face, until Two-Face killed himself in Batman and Two-Face number 28. Oh, and it was also called Batman and Aquaman, and with number 29, and Batman and Wonder Woman number 30, and which came out last month. In the previous two issues, it was a story arc called The Hunt for Robin. Now, in this story arc, Ra's al Ghul had consumed the body of both Robin and Talia al Ghul, and taken them with them to in the search for a Lazarus pit to resurrect them. Batman knows that there are some ramifications for Ra's al Ghul to do this. They'll end up. What he wants to do is he basically wants to resurrect them and mold them into what they want, what he wants them to be, instead of, of what they should be. And Batman and number 29, in Batman and Aquaman number 29, he finds out that he's gone to somewhere near the Pacific Ocean to look for a Lazarus pit. Well, Batman and Aquaman stop them. Then in Batman and Wonder Woman number 30, they go out to Paradise Island, where Wonder Woman is from, after he finds out that there's a Lazarus pit there. They stop him again. Although it almost didn't happen. They almost didn't, because Wonder Woman's fellow sisters from that island almost beat the mess out of Batman. All right, up next is Superboy number 31. In the last issue, number 30, he returns to, or he arrives on Earth, and of course, this isn't the Superboy from early on. This is that one was a clone. This one is the son of Superman and Lois Lane from an alternate timeline, and he ends up on Earth, and some folks from Cadmus Labs ends up friending him. Now, this Superboy doesn't exactly get along with anyone, and he's kind of overwhelmed over the fact that they're being compassionate towards him. And those are some parasites, but I don't think they're the same parasites that Superman went up against, but I'm going to find out when I start reading this. Up next is Supergirl number 31. This is the continuing story arc that crosses over with the Red Lantern's book called Red Daughter of Krypton. And of course, in this one, she becomes a Red Lantern after she's filled with, after a ring found that she was filled with just an unsurmountable amount, with a huge amount of rage. And now she's pretty much going up against creatures and superheroes in the DC universe, notably Superman, and it continues now. Although I don't think that she is going to end up being a Red Lantern, because she also appears in the pages of this new book that's coming out called Justice League United, which picks up where the previous book, Justice League of America, left off. Up next is Flash Annual number 3. This picks up where Flash number 30 left off. You're probably wondering who this is. This is actually Barry Allen from 20 years from now, and he goes back to the past to stop himself from allowing Wally West, of course, that's Iris West's nephew, to die by, well, killing himself. Now, this Wally West in this one is quite different from the one in the original DC universe. This Wally West is, is interracial, which I have no problem with. I kind of find it interesting how DC is kind of changing up the identities of some staple characters from the previous DC universe, or either replacing it with completely different characters. And I can't wait to read this because who knows? Wally West may end up becoming Kid Flash. We hope. Up next is Amazing Spider-Man #2. This is the second issue of the new volume, and in the last issue, in the first 2 pages, we find out that the radioactive spider that bit Peter Parker on the hand and gave him his powers, well, seconds later, it ends up biting another student at Midtown High on the foot. And also, we find out that at the end of the issue, Anna Maria Marconi, who is Peter Parker, or should I say, Otto Octavius's girlfriend, finds out that Peter Parker and Spider-Man are one and the same. And because she finds out because there was a villain who pretty much tore off Spider-Man's costume, and his entire costume with the exception of his mask. And she's watching the news and finds out that that's actually Peter Parker, only because she pays attention to everything about his body because of after all, they've had sex before, which is kind of messed up. But like I said, Peter is trying to deal with some of the things that Otto Octavius done while his mind was inside Peter Parker's body. Of course, Otto Octavius is now presumed dead, and Peter Parker has control of his body now. All right, up next is Forever Evil #7. This is the final issue of the miniseries. Now, some very interesting things have happened in the book. Lex Luthor reluctantly teams up with Batman, Catwoman, Black Adam, Black Manta, and Captain Cold to take on the crime syndicate. And some interesting things have happened. First off, they find Nightwing tied up somewhere with a bomb surgically planted inside of him. That was and the only way, and it could only go 2 ways. Either it could go by Nightwing. The bomb can be deactivated by Nightwing dying, or it could go off and not only kill him, but kill everybody else. When we find out there was a hero from the Earth that the Crime Syndicate came from. Of course, the Crime Syndicate are the evil doppelgangers of the Justice League, who have come to Earth and pretty much taken it over. When we find out there was a hero that came along with them, and I'm trying to get the name correctly. It's Shazam backwards. Mazaz or Mazaz, and his identity, Alexander Luthor. So yes, Lex Luthor is a good guy from the Earth that the Crime Syndicate come from. Look around. All right, and last is Nova #17. Now, in the last issue, Nova with the help of Beta Ray Bill, who is a horse-like character from Asgard. They stopped this guy, this person that who issues before Nova helped without knowing that he was actually a slave trader. Well, they stop him, and they end up, and then Nova and Beta Ray Bill, they become good friends and allies and whatnot. And so, but then Nova, whose real name is Sam Alexander, comes back to Earth, and the first thing he finds is an eviction notice on the front door of his house, and no one's there. All right, that's 10 that I bought, which brings the total of comics that I bought since December of 1997 to 6,236. Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you probably noticed throughout this one, I kind of changed things up a bit. Last week's episode, I did it all in my living room, my apartment. And then up until all the way through episode 20, unless it was somewhere else, all my episodes were pretty much done here in my bedroom, but I was sitting at a desk at my laptop. And of course, I said I wasn't going to be using my laptop to do my shows anymore. Oh, and by the way, the answer to that question that I asked at the beginning of the show, I asked how many characters have taken on the mantle of Batman. Was it A, 1, B, 4, or C, 3? Well, the answer is C. And those characters were Bruce Wayne, Jean-Paul Valley, and Dick Grayson. And remember, next week's episode of the show is going to be jam-packed. There's a comicology segment and a DC versus Marvel segment. And there may also be any questions, depending on whether anyone asks me any questions, which is why I didn't do this episode, because nobody asked me any questions. So, but please, keep them coming. Ask me. Nothing's out of bounds. Well, okay. If it's tasteless, if it's a very tasteless question, don't even bother. But to all my friends that have liked the Comic Hero fan forum, please, I'm asking you, I am begging you. If you have any questions or any suggestions, things you want me to do for the show, things you don't want me to do in the show, let me know. I'm not going to disregard any suggestions. Well, I probably will if it's something like, don't do the show ever again, because that's not going to happen. All right, I'm Victor Nunley. I'm the Comic Hero. Thanks for watching. Till next time, be safe, be blessed, be a hero.